Hi lovelies, boy have I got something exciting to show you this week. Come on, look, this is my Keeper of Memories case. Stuff where everything is stored for my family. And here it is. Hi, I'm Di. My channel is called My Enchanted Journals, so it basically does what it says on the package. I make beautiful journals from just about anything. I've made journals with a cover of a tin can. I do rusting and dyeing and eco-dyeing and all sorts of things in between. Yeah, so I'm glad you're here. The reason why I'm coming on here today is to say that I have about 2,500 new subscribers. So I just want to say hello to you. Thank you for being here. If you're not subscribed at the moment, then subscribe, join the party. We have a bit of fun here. I put out a video just about every week, and I'm always doing some new thing to do with journals, and yeah, I just hope that you stay on board and enjoy. So let's get started with this week's video. I have something so awesome to show you. It's my grandfather's art journal from the Second World War. Such a beautiful, beautiful piece of work. Now, of course, he wouldn't have called it an art journal. He might have called it a diary, a visual diary maybe. I don't know, but he wrote about just about anything. Him and my great-grandfather were great artists. I have some pictures that my great-grandfather drew whilst he was a POW in Kassel camp in Germany during World War I also have those now. But this is super special to me because it's got an account of him liberating a concentration camp during World War II and all the things that he got up to, the places that he went. Now, I will just do a disclaimer here. There is a little tiny bit of top nudity on some of the photos and articles that he's kept. He was a 21 to 25-year-old young man away from his wife, so I expected to find things like that. They're just magazine articles, really, just pictures. They're not graphic photos or anything, but if you feel offended by that kind of thing, you might want to not watch. But it's absolutely beautiful. I think you're going to love it. Yeah, I just felt like I wanted to say hello this week because the end of January has been a long year, hasn't it? And that's what got me started thinking about this journal because, you know, my grandfather fought fascism during the Second World War, and as this channel is also a visual diary for my great-grandchildren and further on, then I want to have stood here as a woman and said that I don't agree with the way that things are going in the world right now, especially for women. I think that we need to stand together and make sure that our rights are not eroded any more than they are. As artists, we have the opportunity to draw or make art to express those feelings. Some others aren't able to do that, but you know, we have the ability to do that. And the great late Maya Angelou said that if we stand up for ourselves as a woman, we stand up for all women, or words to that effect. I don't know the exact quote, but it was words to that effect. And that's how I feel. Us women need to stand back into our power and be recognised as a force to be reckoned with. Us artists, we have the ability now to shape that with our art and speak up. You know, we're not quiet. I've been married a very long time, don't get me wrong. I'm very happy. But what I'm saying is that women, as women, we need to stand together as a community. So I hope you'll stay and go through this visual art diary with me. And I hope that you love it as much as I love having the possession of it and looking through it. more than one occasion. Every time I look through it, I'm touched by what he went through and the sacrifices that he made. And so let's have a look now, and we'll have a chat as we go through. All right? Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. See you in the video. There, I've just about got the whole of that in the screen, which is really good. Now, these SO books were issued to the armies during the war, and basically it just stands for a shortened version of service order or soldier's order. They were just like plain exercise books that were given to the soldiers during the war so that they could record their thoughts or carry them around with them even. There was lots of different size ones. This is an A4 version. So yeah, it's pretty old, obviously. It comes from 1941 to 45. It's amazing that it's still held together, to be honest. But my grandfather and grandmother were meticulous keepers of records. I'm now the keeper of memories in my family. So let's get started. It's really falling apart. But we go to the opening page, and it's of my grandmother when she was 19. This is their wedding photo, taken in 1941. There was just 4 people at the wedding because it was a war on. And they got married by the Bishop of Burnley, I believe. He asked them if they were members of the church. They said yes. He said, well, I'll marry you next week. And that's how it went. So yeah, there's various other photographs here. My great-grandparents there. So yeah, my grandfather's mother never travelled up for the wedding because she didn't agree with him marrying my grandmother. My grandfather came from Money, and my grandmother was from Burnley in Lancashire, so she was considered lower class. That's how it worked back then. That's their notice in the newspaper. So all of these things he took with him when he went away. He was away for almost 5 years during the war, and in that time he documented the goings-on. So there's a picture of Rommel in the newspaper that he's added to his journal, and there's lots and lots of newspaper articles about, this one is about US troops make many landings on the North Africa coast, about the Americans coming into the war after Pearl Harbor, of course. There's tickets in here to shows that he went to. You know, even though there was a war going on, a lot of them still managed to get to shows, to have some kind of normalcy in all the mess and the madness that was going on. These are some tickets. He stuck all of these down. This was his troop here. He was a prolific taker of photographs as well. So in a lot of the photographs, he's not in them because he was taking them, which is a shame, but at least he recorded what was going on. Lots of little memes and comics that he's cut out of newspapers. He was in North Africa for a while. He was also in Italy, and he chased the Nazis over the Alps at the end of the war as well, and liberated a concentration camp, which we'll get to shortly. Super interesting. These photographs here of a hospital and some prisoners of war, tanks being deserted, Field Marshal Rommel and the General Staff again. So these would be photographs that were put into the newspaper at the time and things that interested him. But you know, I don't know if you're already starting to see, but this is very like our journals today, isn't it? We put in it what interests us. We write, you know, things like he's written up here. He's written the narrow labyrinth of streets. He's talking about being in Egypt with this photograph here. So, you know, we do the same thing, don't we? We have our journals and we write something next to what we're putting into the journals. So again, this is the women of Gadams live on the rooftops. they're more heavily dressed than many Arab people are. So yeah, he wrote that. Other things that interested him, he's written here. Lots of pictures. They got newspapers. He notes the hour for prayer, talking about Allah. And then there's other photographs. I'm not sure if he's taken these, but yeah, that's him there. He would have been all of 21 maybe. It's funny, you think of your grandparents as you saw them as children, as old people, and you may or may not have had respect for them. But once they were young and they fought a war against the Nazis and won. So Boxing Day 1943, so he's not in this one because he took the photograph. And Christmas Day 1943. So yeah, then he was 23. So he was born in 1920. I just find it so interesting because it's so like what I do with my journals, having photographs of things that I love and then making little headings underneath, like he's taking a picture of the Sphinx there at Cairo, Port Said, you know, things, yeah, that interest him, he has put into this journal. And see, they didn't have social media like we've got today where we seem to be attached to the news 24/7, you know, and things going on and we're onto it, and, you know, within a couple of hours. And I think that's not such a good thing. Sometimes we have this habit of doom scrolling, don't we? We go from one subject to the next. Whereas he had hours really where he was, you know, with nothing to do, I guess, when it's downtime. And so he kept this journal. Lots of little cards from pictures. Port Said again, photograph. This is one of the risque ones. And he's got pictures of liberated Italians. And there's a little picture of a little girl. So he had no children at this time. And there's lots of pictures in here of little children, and he must have had dreams. I've read some of the letters that he wrote home to my grandma, and, you know, he said about having children and all sorts of things like that. So, yeah. This is another photograph, but it's not one he took. It's one he must have bought, put over. Troops out in the field. You know, little army memes that would have been in journals or the newspaper of the day, other photographs. So by me putting this on my channel, I am also recording this for my family to look at later on as well. So here we go. This is one of these camps, and it would have been a picture that was in the newspaper of the day. He's got pictures of Germans. That's a postcard of the SS. Ruined tanks. This is him here, acting sergeant already. He would have been 22, 23 in this photo. So all of these things, you know, when my children look through these, they're just amazed at his heroism and the things that he fought for, you know. More pictures of tanks and a woman, I think it would be a native woman, gathering water. The Waterloo Club of Cairo, he was a member there. Heliopolis, more troop pictures taken by some heroic photographer of the time. That there is supposed to be a bust of Professor Franz Rotter. I don't know who he is. If you know, let me know in the comments. I'm not sure why it was in here, or whether he just liked it. Yeah, only he will know. Picture of Hyde Park. So he was born in London, and these sort of pictures would have taken him right back to being home again. It's a fabulous postcard here, and he seems to have gridded it off. I don't know if he was going to copy it and draw it. He was a fabulous artist. Port Said again, troop carriers, and then his card here. I don't know what it is. It may have been a payment card for his wages, because it looks like September, October, November, and so on. And somebody signed off each time. So, yep, not sure. But he's got number 085 staff. So, yep. And a picture of hands. I don't know why that's in there. Some things I can't really explain. I've tried to look, but Heliopus again. That's him again as a young man. Picture of a woman. We've got more troop landings. Some of these pictures are priceless. They're like unbelievable when you look at them. You think it's from another era, and then you see things that have been happening in the last week, and it's scary. You know, it's really scary, because my grandfather would have known. He would have known what the salute was. You know, we don't need, as women, we don't need men or the media or anybody telling us that the salute was anything but a salute. We know what it was. My grandfather fought against it the first time round. Don't let anybody tell you that your gut instinct or what you saw was not what you saw or what you felt when you saw it. Please don't let that happen. You know, Melinda French Gates has a really good saying. She says, a woman with a voice is by definition a strong one. And I think we're all strong women, aren't we? You know, that's what we are. We stand up for each other. We have a voice. And as I said in the opening, artists, we have a voice. We can write about what we're seeing. So you see here, look. Oh, he's put pictures of babies. They're so sweet. And he wrote home to my grandma, and he said, if we have a boy, we'll call him Anthony. And if we have a girl, we'll call her Diana. But they didn't. They named my mum Linda. But then I was called Diana. Isn't that funny? So he wrote in 1943 about having a daughter called Diana, and I wasn't born until the mid-60s. So it's funny how life works out. Look, there's another one of those postcards that he's gridded off. I never found pictures that he'd drawn like that, but yeah. So more illustrations from magazines for dance. But on the back is always about troop landings and aeroplanes. So I think the magazines of the day would have been balanced between sort of pictures on the front cover like this, or, you know, happier times, dancing, that sort of thing. And then, you know, it tempered it with what was actually happening in the world. Horses, I think in Hyde Park again. Natives, there's a dead German in his truck. Now we're coming up here. This here was retrieved from a dead German, and it is actually troop movements and a map that they would have followed out in the field. So he has a copy of that in here in his journal, which is pretty awesome to have. Some pages are just blank like this. I'm not sure, he just maybe never got to them. But that's been sewn in. That's like the middle of a signature. Can you see that here? Like we have in our journals. That's actually stitching there. And then more photographs. This is of POWs in the field. All the dead. Yeah. So it says, when after many months of winter war, the snow melts away, they reveal the dead and frozen bodies of the thousands of German soldiers. Spring will again find thousands of Nazi graves scattered on today's Eastern Front battlefield. It's pretty grim stuff, guys. Pretty grim stuff indeed. We certainly don't want to go back to that, do we? I cannot imagine that my boys in their late 20s and 30s are going to have to go and fight another fascist war. It just fills me with dread. Look at these illustrations. They're absolutely fabulous. Stuff that we would love to have in our journals today. Heliopus again, looks like a stall, a market cellar or something like that. Bloomsbury. Looks like Bloomsbury has been bombed. So it's a shell of a place. And again, the Post, Maureen O'Hara, one of the lovely ladies of that day. a movie siren, I think they used to call it. And then all the adverts on the back, look at them. All the old adverts, you know. I should really think, I guess, about scanning some of these and letting you guys have copies so you can use them in your journals. I think that might be a cool idea. Let me know down below if you think you'd like a copy of those. I probably won't be able to do all of them, but I could do some. I don't know why he's got Afghan hounds in here. He did love dogs. Again, more pictures of the stars of the day. Evelyn Leigh as the Belle of New York. Gorgeous. I guess having pictures like that in a journal would have kept life bearable, to think that, you know, after the war's finished, we can go back to some kind of normalcy, whatever that may have been to him. So more little risque photos there. Coupons, so lots of comics. He's got pictures here of burned out troop carriers. That was the Germans, of course, and Nazi airborne troops landing. So, yeah, they're coming out of the plane there. So, yeah, all they had back then was newspapers, so everything would have come by mail. And here he has typed out about San Marino. And it's funny because after the war, my grandparents went to San Marino a lot on holiday. So I don't know if he'd heard about it from somebody, but he wrote out all its details, you know, how it was 32 square miles and a population of 16,000, and that was the 29th of March 1945. So he's added that to this journal too. So some of it is not in order of when it happened, but yeah, I guess he would have gone back and added things to it. More bombing pictures, ladies, stocking problems apparently. I just think they're funny and a sign of the times, you know. I don't know what photographs were in here. They've been removed. I'm guessing maybe they were photographs of family members that he then took out and maybe put in frames after the war again. Some blank pages still. This is the wine peddler. So that's the marketplace. So he spent some time in Cairo. Like I said, there is still a couple of blank pages. But a fabulous example of a journal, an art journal. You know, no different to what we do today, really. And I just really wanted to share it with you. This is one of his own drawings. He's done it and stuck it onto, I think he sent this to my grandma. It says, "I trust you from my arms, beloved, to take a rifle in my hands. I fondly kissed you au revoir and marched away to distant lands. I heeded not your trembling smile, the sorrow in your tear-filled eyes. I left you lonely and forlorn to fight 'neath blazing desert skies. But through the endless, broiling days, midst arid wastes where death lurks near, your love, my sweet, clasps me in a warm embrace and drives away all fear. And in the magic, tropic nights, when pearly stars shine distantly, I feel your soul reach out to mine, and then I know you're close to me." He doesn't know who wrote it, and he writes, "With all my love, eternally, darling, your David." And then he sent her the picture. So I guess it was supposed to be a picture of him and her. Yeah, very clever. Fantastic. He's written memories. It would have been very hard. He was such a young man. He's younger in the war than my youngest son is now. I can't imagine my youngest son being away at war for almost 5 years. It's just unbelievable what he went through. I'm sure you all have similar stories of your families, and I'm sure you don't want to be plunged back into that either. The thought just fills me with dread. Another fabulous picture. I think probably out of a magazine. I'm not sure what that one's about. Some blank pages. More pictures. Some of these are stuck together. I'm not going to try and pull them apart. Looks like a Battle of Britain shot or something like that. Some such thing, I should imagine. More risque women in these. Another one there. I'll just flip through these ones quickly because there's something coming up that is amazing. Here he talks about all the places he visited. So he was in Italy, Florence, Girona, Belgium, Netherlands, Austria, here in Austria, and of course in Cairo in Egypt. This here, guys, this is absolutely heart-wrenching. He says, this is going to be a horrid letter. I am almost unconscious with fatigue and impotent rage. Tell them at home, tell everyone you see that all the worst horror stories they have heard are a pack of lies. They just don't tell half the story. Here is the truth. I was sent on yesterday as an LO immediately behind the leading tanks to make contact with the commander of a concentration camp. I bagged a German prisoner, stuck him on my jeep and made him take me to the man. I was ushered into a room full of heel-clicking colonels who were expecting me. I ignored the Hitler salute and told them we were coming and that they would meet the CO at a certain place. I think they expected us to come to them, and now I cannot describe the rest. It is beyond all powers of description. In one camp there are 15,000 starving Europeans and another 45,000. When we arrived, oh my God, it was awful. The SS was shooting. There are 3,000 dead bodies in a trench and another 500 in a naked heap. They were dying of starvation. Some lay on the ground moaning with holes in their stomachs. Some were trying to crawl on hands and knees, being too weak to walk. Pile of rotten potatoes and were being potted at by the SS. We stopped all this. The pathetic sights, emaciated skeletons weeping and moaning with joy and clinging to us. They have become animals, starving, dying animals. I saw 3 die of starvation at my feet. A skeleton girl clung to the CO. Guys, I can't read anymore. I've read it over and over. And truly, it's horrific. See where he says, we ignored the Hitler salute. We know what we saw this past week. We know what it was. He knew what it was. Don't let anybody tell you that you didn't see what you saw, because you did. He says the nightmare goes on, and I'm going to tell you more. He says in there that they wanted to string up the Germans, but they didn't, and everybody was going mad. It makes me cry to read it, guys. It's just awful. We're not going back there, guys. We're not. We have to stand up and be counted. Goes on over the page. He calls it an extermination camp. There is some pleasure in smashing Hitler's portraits, but there is little one can do but shed tears of impotent rage and say that this shall never happen again as far as one's power goes, and the guilty shall be punished. Well, we know that the guilty weren't really punished, and here we see a rise in fascism again, and we have to be vigilant, absolutely vigilant. More articles from the newspaper. I have stuck them to the page. They were loose, but I don't want them to get lost. This is back in Cairo again, back doing his amateur theatrics. He's got here on Hitler's new speech, promises fireworks. I think they just knew that they were going to beat him, you know, beat the negativity. There's another one there. He's asking or inviting people to come to the theatre. There's a couple of theatre programs here. And that's it. So, you know, the big one is that letter. The letter just every single time gets me. It's the whole family's read it. We've read it and reread it, and we sat in shock. And he never spoke about any of it after the war. He just said how awful it was. He said he was on holiday once in Rimini, and he swears he saw an ex-SS officer on holiday there, because, you know, a lot of them escaped over the Alps, helped by a church, and they hid them. The church hid them. I'm not afraid to say that, guys, because some of the church's past is not good, you know, and we need to be alert that this doesn't happen again. So anyway, I'm going to leave you there, and please let me know down below what you think. Are you amazed? Do you have something like this in your family vaults? Are you the keeper of memories? Do you have journals from your grandparents or great-grandparents? You know, these things need to be treasured, don't they? It's just an awesome thing to own. And so, yeah, I'm going to leave you there, and I hope you have a great week. Like I said, you're welcome here. It's a safe place. I don't like to bring politics onto my channel. I'm not going to do that. I will, however, stand up, and I know that you will too, because we're just a giant village. We've got to stop polarizing each other as different. We're all just human beings, and we're all supposed to love each other. So thank you so much. If you're not subscribed, please do. And I'd love to see you again next week. And I have the most gorgeous journal that I've made next week, which was going to go up this week. And then I kind of thought, no, I needed to do this video. All right, see you all next week. Bye-bye. I made an old man. I said, tell me your story. He took out an old pen and wrote something for me.